Hello, my loves, and welcome to Big Brew One. I'm Neffy, your host, and today we're doing something a little special. We're going to design your post-summer self-love roadmap. I want you to imagine we're sitting together at a cozy little cafe table, mugs in hand, just catching up. That's the energy today, not a lecture, not a class, but a gentle conversation we're sharing over coffee. Now, if you'd like to join in fully, make sure you get your copy of the workbook. You can download it right now from the link in the description below. I'll be working through the exercises with you page by page so you can follow along in real time. Think of it as your guided workshop, you and me side by side, pen to paper, taking the time to check in with ourselves. Okay, this isn't about doing everything perfectly or filling every single box. It's about slowing down, reflecting, and finding small, meaningful habits that make life kinder and more sustainable. So by the end, you'll have your very own self-love roadmap, something simple, practical, and completely yours to carry into the next season. So why are we doing this? We're doing this because life moves fast. We give our energy away so easily to work, to other people, to endless lists. And if we're not careful, we forget to refill our own cup. So this workbook and this session are about pressing pause. It's about checking in with yourself and asking what you really need and making small shifts that last. Think of it as topping up your espresso shot for the season. Strong, steady, and sustaining. The foam and sprinkles are lovely, but the espresso is what keeps you going. There's going to be so many coffee puns, so just get ready. So, that being said, I'm going to pause this and then I'm going to share the workbook and we're going to go through it together. So, you should be able to see my screen, and here's how it's going to work today. We're going to move section by section through the workbook, nice and steady. I'll read out the prompts. We'll pause so you can write, and I'll share why each activity matters. So we're not just filling in boxes, but we're really understanding the purpose behind them. So think of it like a menu for a big brew. Course one is our summer debrief. So we're going to reflect on the past season. So the highlights, the hard bits, and lessons to see what we want to carry forward. All right. And then course two is going to be self-love versus self-care. So here we'll untangle the difference between comfort and true nourishment and write our own personal definition of self-love. And then course three is actually our four pillars plan. So this is actually going to be split up into four sections in itself. So it's going to be body, mind, spirit, community. So for the body section, we'll check in with our physical selves and choose one tiny habit to support our health and energy. So that will be body. And then we'll move on to mind. And we'll clear out a little mental clutter and create small habits to bring calm and focus in our day. Then we'll move on to spirit. So we'll reconnect with awe, joy, and the meaning So the things that make life feel bigger than our to-do lists. Then we'll talk about community. Mm. And we'll look at the people around us, practice gratitude, and create kinder, clearer boundaries to protect our energy. Then lastly, we will look at our printable roadmap. So finally, we'll put it all together on one page, a practical personal guide you can carry into your next 30 days. So by the end, you'll have not just insights, but a full plan, simple, clear, and doable for building more love into your daily life. So before we dive in, I want to give you permission. Take what you need, leave what you don't. This is your journey. If something doesn't resonate, skip it. If something really lands, then linger there. There's no rush. The only pace that matters is yours. All right? So get your cup of coffee or get it topped up. Get your pen ready if you're going to do this with me on the workbook. And let's brew something beautiful together. Let's brew some self-love together. So section 1 is going to be our summer debrief and energy audit. So let's get started. Why are we beginning here? Because reflection gives us awareness. If we don't stop to look back at summer, we risk dragging the same stresses, the same habits, and the same patterns straight into autumn without even realizing it. So think of this like we're coffee coppers in a roastery. We're not here to judge ourselves or to pile on guilt. We're just noticing. Some notes will be rich and smooth, some bitter, some surprising. It's all information we can use. So, are you ready? Part 1A is our roast profile questions. So, on your page, you will see the roast profile questions. We'll go through them one by one. First up is rich and chocolatey. So, when did you feel most alive this summer? Think of a moment where your energy felt high, your heart was open, and you felt really present. It might have been something big like a holiday, or something small like a morning walk or laughing with a mate. So just write it down. Now, why are we doing this? Oh, because these moments are clues. They show us what genuinely nourishes us so we can build more of it into the months ahead. All right, question 2 is our burnt espresso. So, where did things feel heavy or stressful? Did you overcommit? Was there travel chaos, unfinished conversations, or just plain exhaustion? Jot those down. So, why note this? Because heaviness points to where boundaries are needed. By noticing it now, we give ourselves the chance to do something differently in autumn. Okay, question 3. This are your hidden cinnamon. So, What lovely thing happened that you didn't expect? Perhaps you discovered a new hobby, made new friends, or had a happy surprise. Write that here. Why? Because these moments show us that life often gives us gifts when we're open. They remind us to stay receptive, not just to stick to rigid plans. Okay, next we have our unpulled shot. So, what did you want to do but didn't get to do? Maybe you meant to send a pitch, visit the seaside, or simply rest more. Note it down here. Why? Because unmet longings don't just disappear. By naming them, we can decide whether to carry them forward intentionally rather than let them quietly slip away. Okay, next we're going to look at our energy highs. So, what activities left you buzzing with energy, ready to take on the world? Write them here. Why are we doing this? Because energy is one of the truest guides that we have. The things that lift you up are worth protecting. Okay, next we've got energy black holes. So, what drains you in an instant, like your phone battery plummeting from 10% to 2%? Jot them down. Why? Because spotting the drains helps you plan smarter and conserve our energy for what really matters. Okay, relationships, sweeteners, relationships, sweeteners. Okay, who added richness and sweetness to your life this summer? Which relationship felt warm and supportive? So these are names, moments, feelings. Pop them down. Why? Because gratitude helps us notice who belongs at our table and it reminds us to invest back into those connections. Okay, relationship bitters. Who left an aftertaste? Maybe someone drained you, or there was a tricky interaction you're still carrying. Note it here. Why? Because being honest about this, even just on paper, we can see where boundaries might be needed. All right. Question 9. So, on a scale of 1, decaf, to 10, triple shot, how brave were you this summer? Write the number and what made you choose it. Why? Because courage grows through practice. Reflecting on where you stretch yourself or where you stayed in your comfort zone helps you be more intentional going forward. And lastly, it's core lessons. So if summer 2025 was a teacher, what one sentence would it write on the blackboard for you? Maybe it's something like rest is productive or boundaries keep me free. Whatever it is, let it come naturally. Why? Because turning a sentence into one clear lesson makes it stick. It's the headline you'll carry forward. Okay, so that's a lot of writing, so you might want to just shake out your hands. And then we're going to move on to section 1B, which is our energy coffee cake slice. So on the workbook, I've got this drawn out for you, but if you want to do this on your own notebook, then I need you to draw a circle and divide it into 7 wedges. So each wedge will be work, play, body, relationships, rest, growth, and finances. These are your 7 wedges. Now, I want you to shade in how much of your summer each one actually took. So you're just going to shade it in. Then on the outline, then outline how you want your autumn to look. So, for example, if body was small, but I want it to be bigger in autumn than it was in summer, then I might shade that all in. If work was huge in the summer, but I want it just a little bit of work, then I'd shade it in a bit less. So if drawing is not for you, use the table in a workbook and write percentages instead. Don't overthink it. It's about awareness, not perfect maths. So why are we doing this? We're doing this because how we spend our energy shows our true priorities, not just what we say we value. Sometimes we say we want more rest or play, but the chart shows that work took, say, 70%, right? Um, and ideally we'd want it to be 50%. So this exercise makes the invisible visible so you can realign before autumn takes place or takes over. All right, 1C is 3-starred insights. Finally, let's pull out 3 insights from everything you've just written. Star 3 things that feel the most important. Why only 3? Because less is more. Too much detail can be overwhelming. These 3 insights become your compass points for the rest of the workbook. And we've got one more page. So a bonus reflection called the Summer Roast Profile. So tasting notes, you can write a few descriptive words that sum up your summer. Was it sweet, hectic, mellow, bittersweet? What did it feel, sound, what did it feel like, sound like, taste like? This is just another way of, if you didn't want to do the first 3 sections, then you can just do this one instead. You could do either or you could do both if you are really in that introspective mood. So why? Because using sensory language locks memories in more deeply. It helps you connect emotionally to your reflection, not just list events. And then next up is, so that was tasting notes. Next is process variables. Oh, having issues with my. So note down what shaped your summer, your routines, your habits, even the things you avoided. Why? Because process creates outcomes. If we want autumn to feel different, we need to adjust the process, not just hope for better results. Then I need you to look at key lessons. So write the biggest takeaways in a few lines. Why? Because when you name the lessons, you seal it. You're far less likely to unconsciously repeat the same patterns again. And that is section 1 done. You've created a rich rose profile of your summer, the highs, the lows, the surprises, and the lessons. Why does this matter? Because self-love begins with awareness. You can't shift what you don't see. Now you've got clarity about what fuels you, what drains you, who adds sweetness, and what you've been avoiding. So this is the starting point for your roadmap. From here, everything else builds on what you've just uncovered. So let's go to section 2, which is self-love versus self-care. All right, now that we've looked back at the summer and pulled out our insight, let's shift gears. Section 2 is all about something that gets mixed up all the time: self-love versus self-care. Now, here's the thing, they're not the same. Think of a lovely cup of coffee. Self-care is like the latte art on top. It's beautiful, it makes you smile, and it feels nice. But self-love, that's the espresso shot underneath. It's strong, sustaining, and essential. We need both. Foam makes it enjoyable, espresso makes it real. So, in this section, we're going to tease apart the difference and see where your habits are nourishing you deeply and where they're just adding a bit of froth. Are you ready? 2A, def definitions deep dive. So on your page, you'll see two columns. On the left, we've got self-care activities. The things you do to soothe, relax, or treat yourself. Maybe that's having a bath, a skincare routine, buying yourself flowers, going to the gym, binging a Netflix series, or even having your favorite takeaway. Whatever counts as self-care for you, jot it down. Remember, there's no right or wrong here. Self-care can be anything from meditation to chocolate cake. It's just about noticing what you already do. Okay, now on the right hand side, write down self-love qualities or identities. These are things like self-respect, patience, worthiness, boundaries, kindness towards yourself, discipline, courage. These aren't activities. They're deeper qualities of who you are when you're truly rooted in self-love. And the reason we're doing this is because care and love aren't always the same thing. A bubble bath can soothe you, but it won't necessarily build your sense of worth. And setting boundaries might not feel cozy in a moment, but it's a huge act of self-love. Okay, now here's the fun part. I want you to draw arrows from your self-care activities to your self-love qualities they genuinely support. So, for example, going to the gym might connect to self-respect and discipline, or like a kindness towards yourself. Journaling might connect to clarity and compassion. Um, Skincare routine might connect to self-worth. But here's the kicker. Not every activity will have an arrow. That Netflix binge, that's me, Netflix binge, might not connect to anything. And that's okay. It's still nice foam. Foam is part of the coffee experience. It just doesn't replace the espresso. This little exercise is powerful because it helps you see where you're genuinely nourishing yourself and where you might be mistaking comfort for care. Both are fine, but noting a difference is everything. All right, now let's make it personal with our working definition. The workbook asks you to finish two statements. First, self-love to me means dot dot dot. Take a moment and write what comes up. Maybe it's treating myself with respect or being patient with myself when I make mistakes. There's no wrong answer. This is your definition. Why are we doing this? Because if you don't define self-love for yourself, you chase what Instagram or culture tells you it is. And that's often just expensive self-care products. So defining it makes it real for you. Now, the second one. When I neglect self-love, I usually dot dot dot. Maybe you overcommit. Say yes when you mean no, get burnt out, speak harshly to yourself, or feel resentful. Whatever your personal signs are, write them down. Why? Because these are your warning lights. When these behaviors show up, you know you're running low on self love and it's time to refill your cup. So let's have a little story time. And I'm going to pause. Okay, I'm still here, by the way. So, before we wrap up this section, let me share a quick story with you because I think it really shows the difference between self-care and self-love. So, where am I? One of my coaching clients, let's call her Sarah. That's not her real name. But okay, so side note, a lot of my clients, they don't mind me sharing the stories, but they don't want me using their names. So let's call her Sarah. Came to me absolutely exhausted. She was doing all the self-care things she thought she should. Okay, bubble baths, face masks, even treating herself to a takeaway after long work days. But underneath, she still felt drained, resentful, and on the edge of burnout. Why? Because those things were comfort, not change. They soothed her in a moment, but they didn't address the deeper issue. And that was that she never said no at work, and her boundaries were paper thin. We're going to talk more about boundaries later on. So when she shifted her focus to self-love, things changed. Instead of another face mask, her act of love was saying, I won't answer emails after 6 p.m. Instead of a bubble bath, it was actually asking for help from her partner with the housework. And you know what? She still enjoyed her bubble baths and Netflix nights, but because she had healthier boundaries, underneath those treats became genuine joy, not desperate recovery. That's the heart of this section. Self care is lovely, but self love is what keeps you standing. It's the deeper action that says, I'm worth protecting, not just soothing. And that's section two complete. Okay, so you've just mapped out what care looks like, what love looks like, and how the two connect. You've defined self love in your own words, and you've identified the signs you can watch for when it starts to slip. Why does this matter? Because you won't come. confuse comfort with nourishment. You know when you're topping up your foam and when you're strengthening your espresso. Both are valuable, but espresso sustains you. This clarity is going to make the next section even more powerful because you'll be choosing habits not just for comfort, but for love. Okay, so section three is our pillar one, which is body. Here's why we start here. Your body is like the espresso machine. If it's not looked after, nothing else works properly. The coffee won't flow, the shot won't pull right, and the whole brew feels off. But don't panic. This isn't about overhauling your diet or training for a marathon. It's about noticing where your body is at and then choosing one teeny tiny habit to support it. Something so small it feels silly because small is sustainable and consistency is the purest form of self love. So 3A, we're going to look at mini vitals espresso. So the workbook invites you to gather a bit of playful data, like a mini health check. These aren't tests, they're just little snapshots of how your body feels today. Think of it like checking the dials on the machine before you brew. And here's what we'll try. So first is pulse. Okay, so place two fingers on your wrist or neck, count your heartbeat for 30 seconds, and then double the number and jot it down. Why do this? Because noticing your heart rate helps you tune into how your body is really doing. It could be a reminder to breathe, to slow down, or to celebrate your body taking along. All right. Sit to stand. Time how long it takes you to sit down and stand up 5 times. Why? Because mobility is freedom. Tracking something simple like this helps you see progress over time and it makes you aware of strength and ease in your daily movement. Hydration tint. The next time you go to the toilet, look at your wee. Yes, we're going there. Is it latte, amber, or espresso coloured? Write it down. Why? Because hydration is one of the simplest but most overlooked acts of self care. This check is a playful nudge to drink more water if you need to. The clearer or latte coloured it is, the more hydrated you are. Waist to floor. So use a tape measure to see how many centimeters your waist to the floor. Jot it down. Why? Because this is a quick way to notice proportions, posture, and body awareness. Again, no judgment, just data. One leg balance. Stand on one leg with your eyes closed and see how long you last before wobbling. Write the number. Why? Because balance is linked to both brain and body health. It's a fun reminder that tiny practices now protect your independence later in life. Now, if you don't want to do these checks right now, that's completely fine. The point isn't the number, it's the act of tuning in, of checking in with your machine. Sometimes we're so in our heads that we forget to notice how our body actually feels. All right, 3B, choose one body habit. Now comes the most important bit of this section, choosing one body habit. Here are your options from the workbook. So calf raises while brushing your teeth, 10 minutes of sunlight before screen light, and protein plate first. One palm-sized protein at each meal. Take a look and pick one. Just one. Here's why these work. Calf raises. Build strength and circulation without needing extra time in your day. It's habit stacking. You're already brushing your teeth, so you just add a tiny boost. And then sunlight before screens, rest, resets your body clock, boosts your mood, and protects your sleep. It's like reminding your body it's morning before your phone tells you it's chaos. And protein first balances your blood sugar, keeps your energy stable, and reduces that afternoon crash. 7-day pledge. Now write down in your notebook. Then complete the 7-day pledge. I, your name, will practice your chosen habit for 7 consecutive mornings starting date. So why a pledge? Because writing it down makes it a promise, not just a passing idea. And why just 7 days? Because 7 is doable. We're, we're, we're proving to ourselves that we can stick with something tiny and that builds trust. And if you want, add a witness, a friend, a partner, or even me here with you today. Saying it aloud or sharing it makes it more real. Remember, keep it laughably easy. If it feels too small, that's perfect. We're not looking for the dramatic change here. We're looking for tiny, consistent love notes to your body. And that's your body pillar sorted. You've checked in with your machine and you've chosen one small act to keep it running smoothly. Why does this matter? Because your body feels looked after, everything else becomes easier. Your mind is clearer, your spirit feels lighter, and your relationships feel more grounded. This pillar reminds you your body isn't a project to fix, it's a partner to care for, and even the tiniest habits can be an act of love. All right. Let's pour into our second pillar, mind. Here's why this one matters. Your mind is like your kitchen countertop. When it's clear, you can cook with ease. When it's cluttered, with every pan or jar, even making a sandwich feels stressful. This section is all about decluttering that mental countertop and then installing one small, nourishing habit to protect it. Nothing dramatic, just simple shifts that make your thoughts feel lighter. So 4A is a 2-minute brain dump. Grab your pen and for the next couple of minutes, just pour everything that's in your head out onto paper. Big things little things, random reminders, even thoughts like, I don't know what to write. Don't edit yourself, just get it all out. Think of this as tipping off the junk drawer of your brain. You don't have to sort it yet, you're just emptying it so you can see what's inside. Once you've poured out, we're going to tag each line with a letter. So A for action, something you can do quickly in under 2 minutes. D for delegate, something you can hand to someone else. S for someday, so it's something that matters but not right now. And R for release, something you can let go of. Why are we doing this? Because our brains are rubbish at holding lists. When you write things down, your brain trusts it doesn't have to keep spinning them. Labeling them stops you feeling like everything is urgent. Suddenly, you've got clarity instead of chaos. All right, 4B, one mind habit. Now let's choose your one tiny mind habit. The workbook gives you three lovely options. So, box breathing. So, 4 slow counts in, hold for 4, 4 counts out, and then hold again. Do 5 minutes of that. Next is 2 page bedtime read. Literally 2 pages of a book before bed. And then digital sunset at 9 p.m. So phone away, on charge somewhere else, not in your room, so your brain can switch off. Take a moment to choose which one feels both doable and nourishing. Here's why each works. Box breathing helps regulate your nervous system. It's like pressing the reset button on stress. Bedtime reading helps you drift off calmly and gives your brain something gentler than scrolling TikTok at midnight. And a digital sunset helps your sleep, your your mood, and your focus the next morning because blue light and endless notifications keep your mind buzzing. So whichever one you choose, anchor it to something that's already happened. For example, I'll do box breathing when the kettle boils. I'll read my 2 pages once I've brushed my teeth. I'll plug my phone into charge when the clock hits 9. So write your habit down, and then add a sticky bean keyword. Just one small word you can put on a post-it by your kettle, your book, or your charger. It's a playful nudge that keeps the habit front of mind. Why are we doing this? Because habits stick best when they're tiny, anchored, and visible. We're not trying to force discipline through sheer willpower. We're gently reminding ourselves that our mental peace is worth protecting. And that's your mind pillar complete. We've cleared a little mental clutter from your brain dump, and you've chosen one small habit that will help keep your headspace lighter. So, why does this matter? Because your mind shapes how you experience everything else: your body, your spirit, your relationships. When your thoughts are calmer and clearer, life feels like a frantic dash and more like a steady sip. This pillar reminds you protecting your peace is just as important as chasing your goals. Okay, pillar three, spirit. Let's move into our third pillar. Now, this is a word that can mean all sorts of things to different people. So don't get hung up on definitions or what you should feel. Here's how I like to think of it. Spirit is what makes life feel bigger than your to-do list. It's that sense of awe you get when you stand under a huge sky or listen to music that moves you, or pause long enough to realize you're part of something much bigger. And why does this matter? Because without spirit, life becomes flat. It's just tasks, deadlines, and going through the motions. Spirit adds depth, flavor, meaning. And the good news is you don't need hours of meditation to connect to it. Tiny moments of awe are enough. So your 5A is your 10-second definition. Let's start simple. Finish the sentence in your workbook. Spirit feels like ... Take 10 seconds and just write what comes up. It could be peace, stillness, joy, connection, wonder, freedom, anything that resonates with you. Why do this? Because spirit is personal. If you don't name what it feels like for you, it stays vague. And when something is vague, it's harder to cultivate. Once you name it, you know what to look for. So you know, for me, spirit feels like joy. Those little sparks of happiness that remind me I'm alive. 5B, one spirit habit. Now we're going to choose one small spirit habit, something tiny that helps you connect to that sense of awe. Here are the options in your workbook: sunrise, sensory, awe. So head outside and experience the sunrise with no headphones, no distractions. Just let the colours, sound, and air remind you of your place in the bigger picture. Creative froth doodle. So 15 minutes of playful creativity that could be drawing, doodling, painting, colouring, writing poems, not for productivity, just for fun. 60-second stillness between tasks. So before moving from one task to another, take one slow minute to pause, breathe, and notice. Pick one that feels doable for you right now. Why these? Because they're quick, simple doorways into awe. Sunrise resets your body clock and gives you perspective. Creative play reconnects with joy and curiosity. Stillness slows you down and turns ordinary transitions into sacred pauses. Notice that none of these take hours. We're taking 1 minute or a quarter of an hour at most. Spirit doesn't need to be dramatic. Tiny drops are enough to flavour your whole day. Now, in the workbook, write down when and where you'll practice it. Maybe it's sunrise on Saturdays, doodling before dinner, or a stillness minute before closing your laptop and starting tea. Add a start date too. If you like, colour it gold as a reminder that this is precious. Before we wrap up this section, there's a little guided visualization. Here's how it works. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine inhaling the smell of freshly ground coffee. Really let yourself smell it. Now swap that scent for something else. Pine trees, the ocean, beeswax candles in a cathedral, whatever speaks to you. Let that scent grow stronger until it feels like it fills your whole body. Hold that feeling for 5 slow heartbeats. Then gently exhale and open your eyes. Now jot down in your workbook what you sensed. What smells, sounds, or feelings came up for you? Why do this? Because all doesn't have to come from climbing a mountain or traveling abroad. We can cultivate it in a microdose, right here at the kitchen table. This little visualization reminds us that wonder is always available, and if we take a moment to notice, and that's your spirit pillar complete. You've defined what spirit feels like for you, chosen one tiny practice to anchor it, and even tried a microdose of awe in real time. Why does this matter? Because spirit keeps us connected to meaning. Without it, life becomes all rind and no flavour. With it, even ordinary days feel richer. This pillar reminds you awe isn't a luxury, it's a human need, and you can cultivate it in small, beautiful moments. Okay, so here's the truth. Self-love isn't just about you. It's also about how you relate to others. When we have strong, loving connections and clear boundaries, we create a life that feels supported instead of draining. So let's explore this pillar together. Oh, I'm going to look at pillar six. Oh, no. Pillar four, which is community and boundaries. First up is a very simple one, and that is the gratitude test. So in the workbook, there is space to draft a 60-second message. So pick one person who added something good to your life recently, big or small. Maybe they made you laugh, listened when you needed it, or just checked in at the right moment. So write a short text. For example, hey, name, your, and then a specific act meant the world to me. Thank you for being pure gold. So why do this? Because gratitude strengthens relationships. It reminds us who really matters and deepens bonds. And the best bit, gratitude benefits both sides. The person you thank feels uplifted, and so do you. It's like pouring sweetness back into the relationship. And don't worry, you don't have to send it straight away, but I encourage you to do so when you're ready. That little message can make someone's whole day. Um, me, um, I'm just gonna go on camera. Okay, and I'm just gonna do a little story time. Oops, so first off, let's talk about Ariane Huffington. So, um, let me share a quick story to bring this to life. So you might know Ariana Huffington, founder of the Huffington Post. Back in 2007, she was working non-stop, burning a candle at both ends, answering emails all hours. One day, she collapsed from sheer exhaustion. Her head hit her head hit on the desk, and she broke her cheekbone. It was literally her body saying, "Enough." That moment was a turning point. She realized she'd been living without boundaries, giving everything to work and leaving nothing for herself. She changed completely, started protecting her sleep, set limits around emails, and even built her next company, Thrive Global, on the very idea that well being and boundaries aren't luxuries, they're essential. And that's the point I want you to take into the next activity. So, without boundaries, we leak energy until we crash. So, within boundaries, we can sustain our care, our work, and our relationships. So, let's practice setting one now with 6B, which is the boundary template. So, this little structure is inspired by the brilliant Brene Brown, who's done incredible research on vulnerability and courage. One of her most famous lines is, "Clear is kind, unclear is unkind." And that's exactly what this exercise is about. Learning to express your needs clearly, kindly, and without guilt. Boundaries aren't about being harsh or shutting people out, they're about being honest so that the love and connection between you can actually last. So, this template gives you a simple way to say, "I value this, I need this, could we try this instead?" It makes something that often feels scary much more doable. So, for example, "I value rest on the weekends. I need one evening a week to myself. Could we catch up on Saturday instead of Fridays?" Or a work one, or relationship one actually. "I value honesty. I need more clarity in our conversations. Could we sit down once a week to check in?" So, why are we doing this? Because most of us were never taught how to express our needs without guilt. This simple structure makes boundaries clearer, kinder, and less scary. It's not about rejecting someone, it's about inviting them into a healthier way of relating. Now, at the bottom of the workbook, it asks, "Who will I tell and when?" Take a second to jot that down. Say it out loud, even to yourself. Helps you practice the words. Remember, boundaries aren't walls, they're doors with hinges. They open and close, and they protect the flow. All right, 6C. And the last activity here is about building micro community, tiny touch points of connection. In a workbook, there's space to choose a buddy or a small group, then pick a date and time. It could be something as simple as texting your mate every Wednesday evening. This idea is to check in once a week and share two things, one highlight and one low light. Write down who your buddy is, what day and time works, and how you phrase your highlight or low light questions. Why is this powerful? Because we don't always need big dramatic meetups to feel connected. Small, regular check ins create consistency and belongings. And when you share not just the good, but also the struggles, your relationships deepen. That's how community becomes real, not just polite. And that's your community boundary pillar complete. You've drafted a gratitude text to pour sweetness back into your relationships. You've practiced setting a boundary in a clear, compassionate way. And you've designed a tiny weekly check in to keep connection alive. So, why does this matter? Because love grows when it's shared and energy lasts longer when it's protected. This pillar reminds you you don't have to do life alone, but you also don't have to give yourself away. The sweet spot is community with boundaries. That's connection without depletion. All right, so we've reached the final section, your self love roadmap. This is section 7. This is where everything you've reflected on and chosen comes together on one page. Think of it as your personal recipe guide, a little guide you can stick on the fridge, your mirror, or even set as your lock screen. Why does this matter? Because awareness and reflection are powerful, but if they stay in a notebook, they don't change much. This roadmap is about translating all that awareness into small, daily actions that actually shape how you live. So, filling the roadmap, let's take it column by column so you know exactly what to do. So, the pillars are body, mind, spirit, and community. You've already chosen one tiny habit for each pillar. So, write them down here where it says habit, one tiny action. Nice and clear. Why? Because this is your anchor. Seeing them side by side reminds you that self love isn't just one area of life, it's a balance of body, mind, might make this a bit smaller, spirit, and community. And by keeping them small, you've decided to make them doable. So, next is your trigger or your anchor. So, write down your trigger or anchor, the moment that will remind you to do the habit. For example, car phrases while brushing teeth, box breathing while the kettle boils, doodle just after lunch, gratitude text Sunday evening. Why? Because habits don't stick by willpower alone. They stick when they're tied to something you already do. Think of the anchor as the hook that keeps your new habit in place. Hmm. And I decided, let me just actually fill this in. So, what did I say earlier? I said car phrases. Car phrases. Box breathing. Can't spell at the moment. Gratitude text. So while brushing teeth. While the petal oils. Um, just after lunch. And Sunday evenings. Okay. So next is your accountability buddy. So write down the names of the person you tell or who would check in with you. So for me, I'm just going to choose my boyfriend. Okay. So it doesn't have to be formal. It could be a friend who you text once a week or someone doing this workbook or workshop with you. Why? Because accountability makes habits real. When someone else knows your intention, you're more likely to follow through and it makes the journey less lonely. Nope. So that is your accountability buddy. I'm struggling with my thing at the moment. Okay, next is obstacles and plan B. Next column. This is where you anticipate what might get in the way and plan a backup. So for example, if if you'd written like morning sunlight, the obstacle could be it's raining, and then your plan B could be stand by the window with a cup of tea or coffee. The habit could be bedtime reading, and then the obstacle could be you're too tired. So plan B could be just read one sentence. The ob- so the habit could be gratitude text. The obstacle could be, say, no time. So your plan B could be send a quick voice note. So that's obstacle. So why do this? Because life happens. Without a plan B, one mistake can spiral into giving up. So with a plan B, you're prepared and you can keep the chain going. And finally is the 30-day tracker. So this, yeah. Um, each day you do your habit, tick a box. One, two, tick. Yeah, tick a box. Why? Because tracking makes progress visible. It turns invisible wins into something you can see. And every tick is like a tiny love note to yourself, proof that you showed up. So bringing it all together. Now step back and look at your roadmap. Four tiny habits, four pillars, anchors, buddies, backups, and a tracker. This one page is your whole season in miniature. Small, simple actions that over time create a kinder, more loving life. P.S. There is a landscape version also available to be downloaded at nephywellness.com. So, stick it somewhere you see every day. It could be a fridge, a mirror, phone lock screen, anywhere that keeps it in sight. Remember, it isn't about perfection. You don't need to tick every box every day. The power is in showing up again and again in small ways. That's what makes self love real and sustainable. And that's your self love roadmap complete. So you've moved from reflecting on summer to understanding self love to building habits across all four pillars. And now you've pulled it all together into something practical and personal. Why does this matter? Because self love isn't just an idea, it's something you live, one small action at a time. So here's my invitation: keep this roadmap close and let it guide you gently through the next month. Sip slowly, love deeply, and celebrate every tick along the way. Okay, so these are just, so summing up. And just like that, we've come to the end of our Big Brew session together. Oh, it's been long and I'm so tired right now. So let's just take a moment to pause and notice how far we've come in the space of this workshop. You've looked back at your summer and pulled out lessons, highlights, and energy drains, clarified the difference between self care and self love, and written your own definition, chosen one tiny habit for each pillar: body, mind, spirit, community, and a pledge to try it for 7 days. And finally, you brought it all into your own self love roadmap, a one-page guide that's yours to carry into the season ahead. Oh, that was a lot. So take a breath here. Maybe even close your eyes for a second. How do you feel compared to when you started? Are you lighter, calmer, more focused? Just notice. That's the power of slowing down and doing this kind of work. It's not about ticking every single box or being perfect. It's about noticing yourself, respecting yourself, and choosing, even in the smallest way, to love yourself a bit more each day. Remember, the habits you choose don't need to be grand or dramatic. In fact, the smaller the better. What matters is consistency and kindness. Every tick on your roadmap is a tiny love note to yourself, proof that you showed up. And if you miss a day, that's all right too. Starting again the next morning, self love isn't about punishment, it's about patience. And before we close, I love to remind you that this isn't the only time we get to share a big brew together. So every first Monday of the month, I host a new Big Brew right here on YouTube. And on the other Mondays, you can catch my podcast, Cappuccinos and Confidence, little weekly boosts of encouragement to keep you going. And if you like even more, head over to my website, nephywellness.com, where you'll find self-love guides, books, products, and of course, free refills to top up your cup. And if you enjoyed today's session, please do give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend who might need this reminder too. Don't forget, you can always download this very workbook. The link is right there in the description, so you can revisit these activities anytime you like. And final words from me. Thank you for brewing with me. Do you know what? I'm gonna turn this off. And I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay. Yeah, so final words from me. Thank you for brewing with me this time. You're not just filling out a workbook, you're shaping the way you live with kindness, encouragement. Until next time, keep sipping slowly. I've still got my coffee. I actually did refill at one point. Drinking juice at the moment, actually, but I like it hot. So, anyway, keep showing up for yourself and never forget you are worth it.